Thank you all. We're reconvened and back in session. We'll now move on to item 14, fighting the rising cost of living by opposing new taxes. This is from District 5. So Supervisor Desmond, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. San Diego County residents are facing a tax on all fronts in the form of tax increases, new fees, and now the rising costs of living. State and local policy has driven up the costs of electricity, water, housing, and notably taxes year after year. When I started as a supervisor, the county budget was about $6.2 billion. Last year, we approved $8.6 billion budget, a $2.4 billion increase over 7 years, an average of about $340 million a year. But we keep spending and spending, and as we face a shortfall, we should not be looking for more taxes. We should go back to the basics, tighten our belt, and live within our means. Meanwhile, a $300 million doomsday scenario number keeps getting thrown out that the county is going to be facing this massive federal funding loss. I'd like to remind folks that that $300 million number is a worst case scenario, and that in reality, the changes by the federal government could be as low as $43 million, something that we can surely absorb in our $8.6 billion budget. But the county, in my opinion, doesn't have a revenue problem. We need to tighten our belt and refocus our priorities on core functions. In 2024, I brought forward a board letter to get back to basics and focus on our core priorities: roads, infrastructure, and public safety. The goal is to reduce costs and ensure we prioritize the services that our constituents rely on. The board letter failed, but we need to look for ways to run effectively and efficiently. We shouldn't pursue higher taxes when families are just now trying to just make ends meet. There are proposals floated recently that would change state law to allow for higher fees for the transfer of property and also allow for new local payroll taxes. All of this is being proposed at a time when the county is passing record-breaking budgets year after year. The biggest point I want to make here is that we can and we should live within our means. We have more than enough to cover shortfalls and supply the county residents with what they need. We don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. So let's do what every family needs to do across a region. When times get tight, they go back to basics, cut back, and live within their means. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion to approve today's item to oppose any new or unnecessary taxes for San Diego County.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 15 requests to speak on this item, 5 in person and 10 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 2 e-comments, 1 in support and 1 neutral. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 14 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You will have 1 minute to address the board since there are 10 or more speakers on this item. And I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to call forward the first 3 individuals: Cesar Javier, Marissa Bell, and Aline Bratton.
Cesar and Purita, I am alarmed by the word fighting. The implication of this word, the interpretation of this word is so many. 360 degrees, etc., because it calls, when say fighting, we use tools like guns, bombs, name it, to destroy the opposing party or the enemy. This is the word that Councilor Lacaba, City of San Diego, Mr. Javier, you crossed the line. Stopping the rise of cost of living is a moral decision, sir. And we support this. Cost of living also means to me that we should help solve the Tijuana River Pollution Control District.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Sir Desmond.
Hi, happy Black History Month. My name is Marissa Bell. I'm an SEIU Local 221 union member and county employee. Supporting this measure means taking money out of the pockets of your employees, clients, and residents who are all struggling already with economic uncertainty, housing instability, and increasing service needs. If you want them to suffer more while hypocritically saying your priority is to serve and protect the community, then go ahead and support this. But we vehemently urge you to vote no on this item and show the true leadership we elected you to display by instead supporting responsible revenue solutions that actually protect workers, addresses the rising cost of living, and continues to meet the needs of our communities. Working families shouldn't pay the price for billionaire tax breaks. It's time for corporations to start paying their fair share and stop riding on the backs of us workers and county residents, and for your conservative constituents to stop filling their pockets with our blood, sweat, tears, dreams, and money. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'll invite the remaining speakers in person, allegedly Audra and Mark.
Hi, Elen Bratton, SEIU member and 26-year county employee. I urge this board to reject this proposal 14 and let the voters decide what's best for our county. As our federal government continues to cut services that benefit the masses to give tax breaks to those already benefiting from the built-in inequities of the system, the working and middle-class families are asked to shoulder the burden. With county residents and employees facing economic uncertainty, thoughtful revenue planning is critical as the county navigates economic hardship that will increase the need for county services. Our employees and community are demanding leadership that values cooperation, transparency, equity, to identify fair revenue options that prioritize investments in housing, public health, and community services. Federal tax breaks to the rich have already forced San Diego County to make harsh decisions and face major funding losses. County leadership needs to protect the services we provide. It's not only sensible to ask those who have benefited the most to protect the essential services, it's a moral obligation of this board to put the majority of residents over those who already benefit from the system. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Mark, Jim's doing an excellent job. Thanks, Jim, because this isn't a right or left issue. This is screwing everyone. And Monica, the poor people, the poor black people that believe you're helping them, that it's like this, literally. I mean, I've seen them come and they're all excited that you're helping. And that's great, except this will affect them as they transfer their property to their children. All kinds of people. All the poor people, all the middle class. This will affect inheritance tax. This will affect, and property tax. Jim states his two objectives right here. First, he states in the overview that we're collecting more property taxes than ever before, increasing every year. And here's his two objectives. Direct the Chief Administrative Officer to include the board's legislative program of opposition to legislation that will change state law that would increase the current documentary tax, blah, 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 55 cents for every $500. It's about $1,100 for $1 million house.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
You guys.
Thank you.
Of course, this isn't going to pass because we have a bunch of socialist communists on the board that are going to be like, this is helping people because billionaires have homes. Yeah, but other people do too, and they want to transfer it to their family, and they can't do it because it's going to basically make them give the home to you guys or the government just in general. And I mean, it's interesting too because you're saying that you want to fight the rising cost of living, but yet you guys always, every time we are here at these meetings, raise the cost of living for your constituents. And you act like it's a better thing for them. So on the surface, this looks good. I do think that this shouldn't be happening, that they are taxing the way that they are. But at the same time, you guys are hypocrites because you do this on a regular basis and you always need a scapegoat to, blame as far as like why it's rising in cost. And again, it's not just billionaires who have homes. There's people that do and they want to transfer it to their family.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
All the bold. I agree with Jim. We need to tighten our belts and live within our means. Although we don't need to bankrupt the people with new taxes. state legislators are considering raising the documentary transfer tax to transfer home by a huge amount, which would be disaster. Proposals to raise the default statewide rate from 55 cents to $30.55 would result in a 5,400% increase on the DTT. If the tax rate was increased 5,400%, the $1,100 one would pay on a $1 million home would suddenly become $61,100.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller. Next caller is Consuelo. Your device might be muted.
Yep, it was muted. Thank you. Okay, Consuelo here. So most people here don't understand the details, and the devil is in the details. Transfer taxes, payroll adjustments, documentary fees, they're buried in the fine hidden print. Let's see. But opposing new taxes is not enough. To truly address the rising cost of living, we need to challenge a system that treats people as revenue instead of human beings. So the people pay attention, read the details, understand what's really happening. People are drowning, and that is not sustainable. But you pay more when you don't pay attention. So, yeah, I just would like to encourage the people of our county to do so.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller. Next caller is Truth. Your device might be muted.
Hey, it's Truth. Ironically, progressive puppets' tax crazy policies hypocritically harm the most vulnerable working families. Everybody knows there's never been a tax problem, but a spending problem at both the state and county level. And for those who live in the city of San Diego, at the city level too. Minion Manuela, who's delinquent on her own property taxes on that condo, ironically near the trash bins, wants to hike up everyone else's property taxes. It's a quid pro quo with SEIOU, who funded the political campaigns of Terra Monica and Manuela. That's all they care about is money. If the county would just stop catering to the union grifters, there'd be millions and millions of tax dollars unlocked. On January 19th, grifters like anti-home owner Aces Jose Lopez was a Manuela minion outside of the county building begging for our tax dollars to waste. They held open our reserve signs. How many tax dollars went to that box of signs delivered? Was it paid for by the Center on Policy Initiatives, who also wants no term limits for their tax-friendly minions on the board? Jim, the time to tighten the belt was the day Daddy Reamer paid for Tara's way into office and when Naughty Nathan became chair and ruined this county for 5 years.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Noah Yik. I'm a resident of District 3 and a researcher at the Center on Policy Initiatives. Right now, the federal government is dismantling services and programs that hardworking San Diegans rely on. At moments like this, our county should be stepping up, not stepping back. We can't just throw up our hands. We have the power and the responsibility to raise the revenue needed to fill the gaps left by the federal administration and protect our communities. When we ask large corporations and the wealthiest to pay their fair share, we can do more than just survive. We can build a better, stronger San Diego. A San Diego where everyone has access to stable housing, healthcare, and nutrition, where everyone has what they need to thrive. We need to support fair ways to raise revenue, build a system that actually puts people first, and take care of our communities. We urge you to oppose this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller. Next caller is Gambler Hermes. Your device might be muted. We'll come back to that caller.
Hi, my name is Rudy Hernandez. I'm a county employee and an SEIU 221 member, so I'm here to speak in opposition of item 14. At the city level, I recently saw a failure by 3 representatives to tax people and corporations with excess properties to generate more revenue. And here, a general review of the Federal Elections Committee filings from 2005 actually showed corporations kind of like Ace Parking and other real estate development companies and other CEOs are the ones that are actually bankrolling Jim Desmond's congressional campaign that's upcoming. So this is really just to show that corporations and the wealthy are the largest beneficiaries of Proposal 14 and not actual workers. We need to tax wealth and then use that revenue effectively in our committees by funding public services with thoughtful planning and efficient application. It's really the only way that we can actually progress as a society. So supporting this or abstaining is a vote for keeping corporations in power, and opposing this is a proposal. And opposing this proposal is actually a vote for working people.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Hi, my name is Carissa, and I'm speaking today to oppose item 14. I believe that in order for our budget to be fully funded, we need to look at those who hold the most wealth in San Diego, real estate owners and investors. About 35% of all real estate owned in San Diego is valued over $1.1 million, mainly located in the northern boundaries of our city. This is where you should start looking to add more taxes. These properties being equitably taxed would assist with the deficits we're trying to fix by adding redundant taxes that will only dissuade the average employer from fairly paying and staffing their businesses. And another thing, we know that Mr. Desmond gets a huge cut from Ace Parking, who is currently buying up all the parking lots and charging exorbitant fees around San Diego. Let's start there.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Andrea Ebbing. I support not taxing the residents of the County of San Diego any more than you already have. We are totally out of control with our spending, the corruption, the bribery, the blood money, the complete and total lack of transparency, the lies, and everything that results in these additional taxes. So everyone sees it. It's very embarrassing. So I'm really glad that somebody's had the decency to come forward and say, hey, let's stop doing this to the people. They are the residents that have paid into the tax system with absolute failures across the board, from violent crime to property to, you know, keeping the roadways safe and that sort of thing. It's just a failure all around. So I appreciate the lack of taxes. I would support this. And I would say that maybe it's kind of, we should take a step beyond taxing the rich. Let's tax the multi-million-dollar contracts. If we are going to award multi-million-dollar contracts to, let's say, like one individual to developer to redo 101 Ash.
Thank you. Chair Lawson Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you all very much. I appreciate everyone being here to participate today. I have a couple comments, and then I'm sure my colleagues may have something as well. I think this proposal is extremely misleading. It claims to protect working families from new taxes by attacking taxes that have never been proposed, endorsed, or considered by this board. At the same time, county is facing a very real, non-imaginary, and potentially low-ball $300 million annual loss in healthcare funding and food assistance from the federal government as a direct result of H.R. 1, which cut Medicaid and nutrition programs. And let's be very clear, it cut these programs to pay for tax cuts for billionaires nationwide. So billionaires and large corporations have received massive tax cuts, and those who have been left holding the bag are people who are on Medicaid, people who receive food assistance, kids who need support in order to be able to learn to read and go to school. And at the same time, our economy is becoming more and more unequal. I heard, I feel like every couple days there's some report of some other CEO who gets $1 billion compensation package, while regular people are barely making it by, having trouble just paying for groceries at the grocery store. The wealthiest are capturing an extraordinarily disproportionate share of economic gains. That is a deliberate strategy of this federal administration, while working and middle-class families are being forced to shoulder more and more risk and more costs. So scaring people with imaginary taxes that don't exist and have never been considered by this board does not protect a single family. Protecting families requires that we are honest about what caused this crisis that we currently face, this economic crisis, this crisis of wealth and opportunity, and doing everything we can as a county government to make sure the burden does not fall on those who can least afford it. So I will not be supporting this item here today. If this item gets a second, I will be here to offer a substitute motion. In the meanwhile, I will turn to my colleagues who may have comments as well. And if Supervisor Desmond, if your item does get a second, I will be offering a substitute motion. Go ahead, Supervisor Montgomery Steppe.
Yeah, thank you. I really think that there are concrete ways, especially with this board and us being a local entity, technically a nonpartisan entity, that we can advocate to the federal government and the state government for very concrete ways to reduce costs for people. I do not support regressive taxes. I just think that at this point in San Diego, we have to be way more creative about how we think about putting measures on the ballot when it comes to taxes. But I also don't think we should leave anything off the table. And I do feel like the way this reads, we are leaving those billionaires and global investors and those large real estate investors that are coming in and raising the cost of living in San Diego, we're leaving them off of the hook with this. So I don't think that it is comprehensive enough. But I do, would love to see the day where this board supports wholeheartedly rent stabilization or supports unanimously capping the profit of developers or supports unanimously changing some of the regulations around 340B certification so that we as a county can provide free and or very, very low cost medication to people who are going to lose their health care in less than a year. Those are very concrete things that I think we could be doing instead of putting forward, I think, things that are sort of performative in nature and have a good headline, but aren't really doing anything for people. And so that's really the issue that I have with this. So I won't be supporting as is, but obviously I have a lot of ideas about how we can fight the rising cost of living. I just put 3 on the table, and maybe when and if those things come to this board, we'll get unanimous support for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to align myself with what's been said. I think that now more than ever, especially people across the county, but especially in District 1, we have the highest rate of people who are overburdened by having to pay more than half of their income to keep a roof over their head, people struggling to put food on the table, people having to work 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet, and the cost of living continues to rise, and those who are most vulnerable are being absolutely targeted by the Trump administration, who is cutting programs and services for the lowest income, the most vulnerable that need access to health care, all while continuing to give tax breaks for the ultra rich. I've said this before, Reaganomics is a myth. We will never see this trickle down economics effect. And I think that we should consider all options and put them on the table as far as figuring out how we can have a progressive tax that actually does bring revenue to our county, because the counties are being asked to bear the brunt of all of the cuts through H.R. 1 that are from the Trump administration. Now, here locally, I really like some of the suggestions that the Vice Chair has made. I just want to also uplift that Supervisor Anderson and myself are looking at other options through the Fiscal Accountability and Transparency Subcommittee. But as is, this proposal I would not support. I'm interested in hearing what the chair has in mind to amend if that's the direction we take.
I don't see a second at this time. So, okay. I suppose the motion does have a second. So then I will offer a substitute motion. So my substitute motion, if Andrew, I know you have it, you can go ahead and put this up. Would be to replace the recommendations with the following recommendations, which is directing the Chief Administrative Officer to add to the county's legislative program opposition to tax giveaways for the rich that shift costs onto low-income working and middle-class county residents. And number 2, direct the Chief Administrative Officer to add to the county's legislative program to seek state authority to ask voters to support new taxes on Californians that have on the Californians that have benefited the most from our economy: billionaires, global investors, out-of-state real estate speculators, large corporations, and others who have amassed a disproportionate share of wealth, with those taxes structured through progressive revenue strategies that level the playing field, so essential services like 911 emergency response, healthcare, and clean air and water are not cut. The core of this is to putting this board on record of opposing tax giveaways for the wealthy that shift costs onto working families, and directing staff to seek state authority so voters, not us, not elected politicians, decide whether the wealthiest beneficiaries of the economy should also contribute to help protecting essential services like healthcare, food assistance, and 911 emergency response. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Any additional comments? Okay, we'll we first to vote on the substitute, is that correct? Okay, Andrew, we have a motion and a second, please call the vote.
Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes with Supervisor Anderson voting no and Supervisor Desmond abstaining.
Madam Chair, just
please.
A point of order. I know you go over your rules of proceedings for this board. The audience, there's a lot of jeers and sneers and laughs that are very distracting, and we have been very good about hearing everybody who's come and given public comment. I'd like to just point out that whoever's making those noises is not adhering to our rules of this meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment of our Chair Pro Tem. I would like to echo and reinforce that and encourage my colleagues, if I fail to notice that someone is disrupting the proceedings, to help me keep order in the chamber, bring that to my attention. They will be given one warning, and if after that they do it again, they'll be asked to leave. So I do appreciate that support in keeping our meeting running in an orderly way. Thank you so much. Okay, we are now moving on to item 16. Oh, 15, sorry, yes, item 15. This is presentation of a semi-quintennial 250th anniversary celebration of the United States Declaration of Independence at Waterfront Park. This is a District 2, District 5 item, if you had any comments. Okay. Supervisor Desmond, Supervisor Anderson, do you want to say anything to introduce the item?
As a matter of fact, I would. Thank you. This coming 4th of July marks the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, one of the most impactful moments in our nation's history. To mark this anniversary, Supervisor Desmond and I are requesting that the county host a celebration here at the Waterfront Park. As the second largest San Diego County, as the second largest San Diego County in California, the second largest county in California, home to the largest concentration of veterans and military personnel in the world, the county is uniquely positioned to serve as a regional leader in commemorating this historic milestone. By being centrally located, having ease of access to public transportation, and adjacent to the already established 4th of July activities like the Big Bay Boom, Waterfront Park is also uniquely positioned to host such an event. This celebration will be open to the public. It will be enhanced by the participation of vendors who we hope will also offset some of the cost of this event. Since this is there's a good chance that this might be the last fireworks show here at the Bay. We'd like to try to do some projection mapping display that would use the County Administration Center as a canvas for the new lighting spectacle. Finally, this board lever is about forgetting our differences, providing an opportunity for our community to come together and celebrate our shared future. And I didn't know if my co-author would like to share his thoughts.
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments. Thank you, Supervisor Anderson, for including me in this effort to celebrate our nation's 250th anniversary. We can expect massive celebrations, hopefully, this 4th of July to celebrate this momentous occasion. I believe the county should be a local leader in these celebrations. We have a wonderful waterfront park just outside the building, providing a wonderful view of downtown and our bay. I think we should offer it up to our residents to utilize on the 4th and to work with the local partners to truly make this a memorable 4th of July. I'm looking forward to what can be done on one of the best 4th of Julys of our lifetime. I can't wait for the countless celebrations across our county and community. And together, I think we can put together a great event, a public event, and celebrate 250 years of the United States of America. Thank you, Joel.
Madam Chair, I neglected, and I think you all should have a pack of letters, but Little Italy Association, the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Ballpark District Community Partnership, East Village Association, the San Diego Port Authority, Downtown Partnership, Maritime Museum of San Diego, and the San Diego Tourism Authority all sent letters of support. They see this as a huge opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much to our two co-authors. Now I'll turn it over to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 10 requests to speak on this item, 4 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 1 e-comment in support. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 15 by phone, please dial in the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. Because there are 10 or more speakers on this item, you'll have 1 minute to address the board, and I'll ask you to begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the speakers. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra, Cesar Javier, Aline Bratton, and Mark.
Yeah, Jezebel Paloma is the reason why the declaration needs to be utilized. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separation, the equal station to which these laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impelled them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any forms of government become destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute no new government. That's exactly why, because you have a Jezebel here sitting here and trying to act like she wants to kick me out every single chance she gets, sitting there with her eyes and throwing her hearts. See you next Tuesday, Paloma.
Next speaker, please.
Cesar and Purita will be restless to defend and protect our Constitution. God help our thinkers. My God, this is wrong. You want to celebrate the Declaration of Independence in a beautiful, serene site? What is now the value of that celebration if it is not meaningfully anchored? Our independence from sick and dying victims of Tijuana River Pollution Control District. God, let's bring the venue in the front line so that San Diegans would know the meaning of these declarations of independence. Mom Steve, let's think together. Mom Rimmer, let's think together.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Elan Bratton again. I want to speak about this issue not because I have a feeling of whether it should happen or not, but I think if it does happen, it should include a full history of the United States and not just the happier version that we all get, and would include information about how the Africans that came over here on slave ships contributed to the independence of this country, how native lands were taken to make this country, and would include a full history and not just the version that's more of the fairy tale history of the United States. And so in celebrating, I think we need to celebrate all parts of who we are, not just the light ones, but also the dark ones. And that would be my request of any consideration for a celebration of our independence, because everybody was not independent, was not free, and was definitely not able to enjoy that same privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, we're not in America anymore. And you notice what the Democrats just did. I'm not right or left, but instead of, like Jim did wanting new taxes, I talked about how poor people wouldn't be able to leave their property to their children without an $1,100 tax on their inheritance, on their houses they might leave to a child. They didn't do anything to say, one child, this won't happen to families with one or two houses, leaving property to their kids. No, they just said, we're just going to tax the rich more. It's such a bullshit solution. People need to see, I've got 25 seconds. This, 6 minutes, 40 seconds to 25 minutes, will tell you what a scam our monetary system is. This is not America. It didn't exist before 1913. The rich now are making, instead of 26 times as much like they did in 1980, they're making 400 billion. What is that? Who knows? Look at these video titles. I'm out of time.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Party looks good. Now, if only everyone would follow the Declaration, the Constitution, and the law. There are too many government persons and agencies who seem to think the rules, even their own rules, don't apply to them. From the county on up, we hear this, a steady drumbeat these days. Cities too. Too many ways of hiding things, like putting ordinances on the consent calendar when your own rules say it is for routine items. And then there are the private corporations some of which have a pretty tenuous relationship with the law. Good luck celebrating a united country and county rather than a patchwork of competing interests and people who can make compromises across the aisle or tell one not to. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Hey, it's Truth. I do not support removing fireworks from county events because fireworks, not mapping or drones, represents bombs bursting in air. Its meaning is specific and irreplaceable. The county building is not centrally located for those that don't live near downtown. The county should not be engaged in trying to make up for the city of San Diego's failed tourism and self-induced budget deficit. I want smaller events all around the unincorporated communities. Or I'd like to see the county provide free shuttle services for anyone who'd like to attend at Waterfront Park because real accessibility and inclusivity is important. I encourage reenactments of key moments such as the signing of the Declaration. I also want to see the county offer out free pocket-sized constitutions so people can see how unconstitutional this board's actions are. I support eliminating all supervisors meetings to celebrate freedom. I support an invite to ICE to attend as respected federal law enforcement. I would even support inviting Trump to give a fun speech. I expect the three gaslighting rich progressive puppets to vote no on anything pro-America. They only vote yes to taxes and inflation, of course. Charles Sumner and John Adams represent America, not...
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Okay, so yep, the county does continue to collect record revenues while the people are told again and again to sacrifice more, tighten more, and give more, even though they're already stretched thin. Okay, so I have to ask, independence from what exactly? Did we really break from the British Crown, or did control simply change hands? Because people today are anything but independent. Not in how they think, herd mentality is the norm, not in what they consume, not in how they live, and certainly not in what they are mandated to do with their own bodies. Independence was supposed to mean self-determination, sovereignty, and freedom from distant powers making decisions over the people's lives. Yet, here we are 250 years later with centralized control, endless taxation, constant surveillance, and a population working harder than ever just to stay afloat, celebrating independence while people are...
Thank you. And Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you so much. Chairperson Aguirre.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to start by grounding this conversation in our shared history. America was built by immigrants, people who worked the fields, served in uniform, healed communities, taught our children, and opened small businesses that still power our economy today. It was also built on the backs of enslaved people who were beaten and brutalized for hundreds of years. The violent dispossession and genocide of indigenous people, and systems of incarceration that have too often enforced inequality instead of justice. This history matters, especially right now. Across the country, we're seeing attempts to whitewash our past, replace the hard truths with feel-good myths, undermine the rule of law, and deviate from the core freedom and protections guaranteed by the founding fathers through the Bill of Rights. A system where the current federal administration is detaining people without due process, often for months in subhuman conditions, immigrants and citizens alike, and engaging in state-sanctioned violence that has resulted in the deaths of over 32 people, including American citizens. If we're going to mark a national milestone, we have a responsibility to tell the truth about who built this country and why those lessons still matter, not just for history's sake, but for the decisions we make today. Any celebration of our country must intentionally include immigrant and historically underserved business owners, nonprofit organizations, community leaders, and advocacy organizations. These groups are central to our society and economy, yet they're often excluded from major civic events. Second, planning must be fiscally responsible and fully funded without jeopardizing core county services. We have to remain focused on our priorities. Families are facing rising housing costs, homelessness, and barriers to health care. Our first responsibility is to protect essential services. Symbolism cannot replace responsibility. With those principles in mind, I'm prepared to support planning contingent on amendments that establish clear standards for equity, accountability, and fiscal oversight. So I'd like to please have what I'm proposing up on the screen, and they've been distributed. Okay. So recommendation 1 can remain the same, but I would like to amend, my first amendment will replace recommendation 2 and read as follows. Direct the CAO to foster partnerships, actively pursue sponsorships and collaborative opportunities, and accept donations from the public, private, and community stakeholders to support the planning, programming, and execution of the semi-quincentennial celebration of the United States Declaration of Independence at Water Park, and to enhance public awareness, engagement, and participation in the event, subject to the following eligibility requirements. The county shall accept sponsorships, donations, other financial contributions, or partnerships only from organizations that demonstrate alignment with the county's strategic plan and the county's values of inclusion, equal opportunity, and support for immigrant communities, LGBTQ+ communities, tribal nations and indigenous groups, and other historically underserved populations. B, an organization may demonstrate alignment with the values with subsection A through one or more of the following as determined by the CAO. Publicly stated policies, programs, or commitments supporting immigrants, refugees, or mixed status families, tribal nations, and indigenous groups and/or LGBTQ+ communities. Workforce, community, or philanthropic initiatives that advance inclusion, equity, or access to opportunity for historically underserved populations. Partnerships, grants, or investments supporting organizations or communities aligned with the county's equity and inclusion goals, or other comparable actions or commitments consistent with the purpose and values highlighted in the county's strategic plan. All organizations shall self-certify in a form approved by the CAO that they meet the eligibility criteria set forth in this section. Notwithstanding an organization's self-certification or demonstrated alignment, the CAO retains discretion to decline any sponsorship, donation, financial contribution, or partnership that is inconsistent with the purpose, intent, or values of the celebration. My second amendment will include the following language. Direct CAO to coordinate with the Office of Equity and Racial Justice and the county's tribal liaison to ensure that the planning and implementation of the celebration of the United States, of the semi-quincentennial celebration of the United States at Waterfront Park incorporates meaningful community engagement with particular emphasis on tribal nations and indigenous groups, immigrant communities and immigrant serving organizations, LGBTQ+ communities, and other historically underserved populations. Promotes broad and inclusive participation reflecting the diversity of San Diego County, and is consistent with the county's equity, inclusion, and racial justice goals. Such coordination shall inform outreach strategies, program development, and partnership activities associated with the celebration. That's, in a gist, what I'm proposing. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the copy. I'm happy to second this. I want to just share my thoughts about the item in the celebration, especially as daughter of a Vietnam vet. I think it is important to acknowledge the 250th anniversary, but it's also important to acknowledge that at that time there were actual people that were not considered people, that were being sold in slave trades, that did not obtain any freedom at all until June 19th of 1865. And so when we go back 250 years, it's just facts that the reality for many of us and our ancestors, where we came from, was very different. And so I think if I didn't somehow believe in this country, I would not have run for office, right? Wouldn't be trying to participate in the public process. But that means that I have to tell the truth. And the truth is that if we celebrate 250 years, that everybody was not free 250 years ago as is right now, the backdrop is that we have a rogue immigrant enforcement agency that is killing many people, including American citizens. And so the system continues to, as I stated earlier, it continues to reinvent itself. So we go from a system of slavery into receiving the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. 14th Amendment now that irons out birthright, citizenship, and due process is now being taken away from many people right now. So we had a flourishing of particularly the African American community during the Reconstruction period, but it lasted barely 10 years before there was backlash. And during the Reconstruction period, I want to say that Black and white people came together, and there was a concerted effort by the billionaires that we speak about now, we say billionaires, but the rich people, to separate them, to break up that power. And so from then on, we still have not learned, and it just keeps, it looks different, but it's the same, it is the same system that requires some sort of free labor, which the only reason why we're the richest country in the world is because for 400 years there was free labor here. That's it. That's the only reason. And so all that needs to be said. The fireworks, okay, you know, again, my dad fought for this country. You know, I'm here. I don't plan on going anywhere. I love my country. But right now, it is, I'm reminded every single day about the complexity of us being able to come together and every single person being treated with dignity and respect. And we have so many, as we have throughout the history of this country, people being treated like second-class citizens. And so that we have to acknowledge that in any commemoration that we have, because if we don't, our kids will be back here in 50 years experiencing the same thing. And we're not taught, this is not just a personality conflicts. This is life and death as we're seeing. And this is, right now, we do have an administration that has taken from the poor to give to the richest of the rich. There was a meeting the last week at the White House for farmers, and it was clear small farmers, Black farmers were not invited, and they were not included in the meeting. So I support this because I support veterans that come back from war are not able to get the mental health care that they deserve. Veterans that come back from war to a country that made them drink out of a different fountain than a white person, but still hung their American flags in front of their homes because the ideal of this country they still wanted to fight for. So I think that's why this amendment is important, and hopefully we can come together on it, because I think all of it should be talked about in the context of we are going to fight for what we believe this country should be. And that it's not like one person is not better than the other person. And these founding documents, we have to talk about the flaws of the people who wrote them. We can get up here and read the Declaration of Independence, but the author was also an owner of enslaved people, the lowest count being 200 and the highest count being 1,000, and also had children with one of them while she was still a teenager. That's the truth. So the words read well, but the truth is that this is a man who still owned human beings with blood running through their veins like him, still owned them, and they worked for free. And so those people never got their inheritance from working their whole lives, but this country got that inheritance. And so that's what we should be talking about, in addition to how this is a land of opportunity. This is a place where people can come and succeed, because we've seen it. I have family members that had to go to the back door of people's homes to clean them. But I'm here today. That's a great story. We can tell that story, but we have to tell the full truth. So I second the motion that's on the floor, and I hope that even though it's hard, we can come together and really acknowledge all these different parts, because after all, in my mind, that's the ideal America.
Thank you. I just want to say a couple of words, not too many, because that was inspiring. And just really, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. I just want to appreciate the motion from the Chair Pro Tem and voice my support for the vision and the principle that we should have extraordinary celebration to celebrate what this country aspires to be, what this country is on its best days, what this country can be, and that those celebrations always have to acknowledge the complexity and the contradictions, and that this country was founded on a lot of imperfections, and it is always a work in progress, and we have a long way to go. Supervisor Desmond.
Well, after hearing all the passionate pleas up here, you know, we could have a theme of we're not perfect, but we can still work on it. And everyone's invited, no one's excluded, is where I think it really comes down to. So happy to support.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
Yeah, thank you. For clarity, was this an amendment or substitute motion? Because I heard amendment, but then I heard a second. So is it a substitute motion?
I made an amendment to the board letter as is, and I have a second, and then you have two folks that.
But there was not an original motion. So what Chair Pro Tem Aguirre, she made the original motion. She's the original maker of the motion, but she amended the board letter before making the motion.
So I have two quick questions. One, in it, it said you would only take donations from people that met a certain criteria. So if someone, a company or individual, donated to the national effort on this through the White House, would that preclude them from supporting this, from us taking their money? Because, see, the whole purpose of this is to have it funded outside, not with taxpayer money. So if we are limiting who can donate,
that's why I mentioned in my remarks that it's important that we are fiscally responsible and not end up spending money out of our own, and hopefully we get enough sponsors to reach the caliber of celebration that you and all of us envision. So to answer your question, it's clear in the amendment that they would have to align with what our values and what our strategic plan determine. It's right there in the county's values of inclusion, equal opportunity, and support for immigrant communities, LGBT communities, tribal nations, and historically underserved populations. So I can't speak to, monies coming from the White House or who has donated through the White House, but if it's in direct contradiction with any of these values, then I would say that it's very clear that we are directing the CAO to have the ability to make that determination.
Thank you for that. This is very powerful. I certainly understand the emotion around it. Have you thought about expanding this to include all waterfront park activities? Because we have concerts that come here all the time that pay good money, but we don't know that they don't support all these things. And that, we're taking, according to this, we're taking blood money.
Can I just ask a process question? I mean, I want to make sure we're not engaging in a discussion. It sounds like, would we be even able to consider a proposal to have restrictions on, broader restrictions on waterfront park activities today?
Because that wasn't agenda.
I didn't propose it.
Okay.
I asked the question.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're not going to run astride.
No, but in understanding this, it seems like this is a movement that should apply to all waterfront park vendors and everybody else, right? So, I mean, if we can't take money from somebody to spend in the way that we see fit, then perhaps we should have the same criteria for the waterfront park, and only because you guys all feel so strongly about it. I'm not making that as an amendment. I can't support this. I think that is more divisive than helpful. I agree with what you all said, but I won't be supporting it. I wanted a celebration where we could look at what we have in common. I'm not saying it shouldn't be truthful, but you're saying that I can't accept money to tell my story because I don't like the person that gave me the money. You know what? I represent everybody in my district, not just the people that voted for me, and not just the people that I agree with. So because that's how I run my district and how I got elected, I can't support this. But I appreciate that you've done you've done your own motion. Thank you.
Supervisor Montgomery Step.
Just as a seconder of the motion, I would, for me, it's important for me to draw distinctions here. Of course, yes, history can be emotional, but there's nothing wrong with having that emotion and tying it to the facts, which is, I think, what is happening here, one. And number two, this is something that the county board members are bringing forward, which is completely different from any kind of private party or anything that anyone wants to have at the waterfront. And it's the symbolism and the celebration of this country. The only thing we're saying is it just needs to include the full breadth and history of this country. That is it. And so, and people who want to participate should also be on the same page with that. I think that's the distinction here for me.
Well,
Supervisor Desmond.
Can I add to his comments?
I want to call on folks in order. So Supervisor Desmond, and then you'll be next in the queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I appreciate Supervisor Anderson, you're pointing that out. And even though you and I brought this forward, it's probably going to be voting against it. We should not be excluding people that have different thoughts or different ideas. We're all Americans. And we should all, even though we think somebody's absolutely disgustingly wrong, we're all Americans, and we're celebrating this country that gives us the opportunity to have those different thoughts or different ideas. And like I said, we're not perfect, but I don't think we should be excluding any group. We should invite everybody, and anybody can contribute. So by eliminating or saying unless you adhere to all of the things we agree on, and you don't, you can't participate or give money. So I'm not going to be supporting it. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we're conflating exclusion with inclusion. To say that being more inclusive is exclusionary is precisely why we need to be more inclusive. So I will say that we're living in a time where we're seeing corporations fund the detention and abuse of humans, whether they're immigrants or citizens, simply because of the color of their skin. No, it's okay. And you had your turn. So I'll just say that this is an effort to be more inclusive and to make sure that whoever's supporting this event specifically aligns themselves with the values of this county and what we stand for today. So I appreciate both of your comments, but we're going to move forward with the amendment. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Please vote.
Chair Lawson Remer, that motion passes with Supervisor Anderson and Supervisor Desmond voting no, all other supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you all so much. Moving on to item 16. Okay, we're very excited.
Good afternoon, Chair Lawson-Remer, members of the board. For item 16, we're here to discuss the county's required contributions to the retirement fund in the coming fiscal year 26-27. California Government Code requires the Board of Supervisors to adjust the county's retirement contribution rates annually for both employer and employees based on the recommendations of the Board of Retirement of the San Diego County Employees Retirement Association, which we call SD-SARA. Recommended contribution rates for the upcoming fiscal year, 26-27, were calculated by SD-SARA's actuary, the Siegel Group, and were approved by the Retirement Board at their meeting on November 20th of last year. For a more detailed look, I'll introduce Nicole Temple from the Office of Financial Planning. Nicole?
Thank you, Joan. Here's an update of key metrics on retirement, based on SD-SARA's annual valuation of the retirement fund. The annual valuation provides the basis for the county's required retirement contributions. As shown in the top table, since last year, the retirement fund's percent funded has grown and its unfunded liability has decreased. This is good news for the health of the retirement fund overall. Also positive is the unrecognized investment gain of $769 million in 2025. This amount can vary widely from year to year based on actual market performance of the retirement fund. This gain will be recognized by SD-SARA over the next 5 years and is anticipated to have a positive impact on the funded ratio of the retirement fund and the county's required contributions in that time frame, depending on future market performance. Also good news for the county is the estimated total required contribution from all participant employers in dollars, which is now $757 million as shown on the slide. The county's share of this contribution is estimated at just over $711 million in the coming fiscal year. This is a decrease of $131 million from current year estimates, which has been anticipated and integrated into the county's financial planning for quite some time and will be discussed further in an upcoming slide. We also see the county employer and employee contributions as a percent of payroll decreasing overall. The bottom chart here presents market value investment returns of the retirement fund since 2015. The SD-SARA board assumes a rate of return of 6.5% on their investments annually. As of December 31st, this fiscal year, market earnings were 7.2%. This chart demonstrates how investment returns can change from year to year. The fund's average return over the past 10 years is 7.1% and 9% over the past 5 years. The next slide looks at projected impact on the county's retirement costs. The bars on this chart show actual and the most recent projections of retirement costs through 2044, including debt service payments. For comparison, the dark blue line shows the prior year's projections. Total employer costs are projected to peak in the current fiscal year 25-26 at $977 million, which includes $896 million estimated by SD-SARA that's required, as shown on the last slide, plus an annual payment of, $81 million on the county's existing pension obligation bonds. Actual amounts will be known at fiscal year end. Projected costs in this chart were developed by the county's actuary based on SD-SARA's most current 2025 valuation, and future results depend on the retirement fund's actual investment earnings and other performance. This chart shows a step down in the estimated contribution in the coming fiscal year. Looking at year-over-year change, this may look significant, but it's important to remember retirement costs are integrated over a long-term horizon, which we'll turn to in the next slide. In 2004, SD-SARA adopted a policy to amortize their unfunded liability, that is, to spread the costs over 20 years. With the goals to allocate these costs equitably over time and to level out payments for the county moving forward. Since then, SD-SARA looks long-term at amortization of unfunded liability as part of the annual valuation. The drop in employer contribution in the coming year largely reflects the final payoff of the initial amortization from 2004, which was a substantial $1.2 billion, as it included the outstanding balance at that time from the implementation of Tier A and the county's issuance of pension obligation bonds. In simple terms, we've made the final payment on that portion of the unfunded liability. This impact has been known and integrated into the county's long-term planning for fiscal year 26-27 since SD-SARA's amortization update in their 2019 valuation. SD Sarah's amortization policy is intended to keep the county's contribution level as a % of payroll and anticipates changes when amounts are fully amortized. SD Sarah's 20-year policy both minimizes year-over-year volatility and allows the county finance team to plan far ahead to ensure appropriate capacity to fund salaries and benefits for employees. Projected retirement costs are considered in the county's budget planning, as we'll look at next. The county annually receives projections from our actuary of retirement contributions over a 15-year horizon. These projections are based on SD Sarah's most current year valuation, including scheduled amortization of unfunded liabilities. Thanks to the actuarial analysis and SD Sarah's policies, the county's fiscal team has a long-term view of changes in retirement contributions. These can be integrated into the county's budget development and financial planning from the earliest stages. Retirement contributions are a significant part of the county's costs for employee salaries and benefits. Annual projections for retirement are continuously integrated into the county's long-term financial planning as the foundation of salaries and benefits amounts in the 5-year financial forecast, which is updated as projections evolve. Fluctuations in retirement cost and the change in the coming year due to full amortization of unfunded liability have been known since 2019 and are accounted for annually as one of the first steps in the financial planning process. Knowing this allows the county to more accurately estimate costs and better project amounts of available general purpose revenue for budget planning purposes. This information is used to determine capacity for things like labor agreements, increased costs for core services, and other board and community priorities. From this perspective, SD Sarah's 2025 valuation confirms what's known and what's already been included in the 5-year financial forecast and the coming year's budget planning. Today's recommendation is for the board to adopt the retirement contribution rates for fiscal year 2026-27 as approved by SD Sarah. This is an annual administrative action that is presented to the board. If approved by your board, the coming year's CAO recommended operational plan would include the county's necessary contributions to the retirement fund. We'll continue to update the board on the performance of the retirement fund and anticipated fiscal impacts. Subject to your questions, this concludes the staff presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from my colleagues before we go to public comment? Okay. Please call the public speakers.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 8 requests to speak on this item, 3 in person and 5 requesting to speak by phone. I also know for the record that we received 1 e-comment in opposition. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 16 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra, Cesar, Javier, and Mark. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to begin by stating your name for the audio record.
Mark, people need to see this video on YouTube. It's going to talk about what happens to the pension funds. The majority of these, of the retirement contributions go to the, toward funding-based pension benefit. And this will tell you what happens to that. People need to see this video from 3.5 hours. Watch it for about 20 minutes.
The stock market went up. The California State Teachers Retirement System's pension fund would also go up, in this case by over $11 billion. And under its statement of net assets, again, we see total assets are actually listed at $159.8 billion. But after the liabilities are taken into consideration, we have total net assets of $129,768 million. Again, an increase of over $11 billion. And so I ask you, does this sound like an underfunded pension fund? Now, one thing that is paramount to comprehend when looking at these dollar amounts is to understand this. This is a look at the contribution cycle of employees into the pension fund. Notice that it is not only the government employees that are contributing to the fund. In fact, employees are indeed the smallest contributors for each fund. Instead, we can see that government, here referred to as the employer, is contributing the majority of the money into the pension fund for what they claim is on behalf of the employee. But where is that money coming from? The employer in each case, the government employer referred to on each report, is a taxpayer-funded government entity. So a state employee who works for a government office, such as Employment Development, the Department of Corrections, the Fire Department, Police Department, or any other governmental office, is not only placing his or her money into the fund, but by law, each government office is also contributing to the fund at a rate of 100, 300, 500, and even 1,000% more than the actual employees. To translate, this is taxpayer money. Billions and billions and billions of taxpayer money. This is the government transferring your taxpayer money into the pension fund system. This is the government sucking massive amounts of taxpayer monies out of the taxpayer base, which could otherwise be used for taxpayer services and budgetary requirements to meet the so-called deficits claimed by these thieves in government. But instead, it disappears into these pension funds to become play money for the government wealth and investment scheme. And this allows the continuance of corporate governance through majority stock.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Talk about indentured servitude. You guys are funny corporations robbing from Peter to pay Paul. That's you guys, and you use your blood money to do it. People working really hard thinking that I'm going to get this retirement. All you guys make money off of it. Good that you can get tax breaks for it and different things like that, right? I mean, at least you guys are benefiting from it. All while you're going to virtue signal as though you're like, we're going to make sure you have your retirement. You're going to work really hard and eventually you'll get it if we don't lose it. But it's also good to know that corporations like this who do fund abuse of people. Actually, it's us as well. We're corporations. We're traded on the stock market as well. But you guys are the biggest hypocrites. You think that inclusion is like excluding people. It's good to know we're redefining words as well. But yeah, this is just sad because you guys sit up here and you act like you're benefiting people from what you're doing. And all you care about is money. I mean, you sat there for I don't know how long and were bitching and complaining and trying to figure out who's going to get that $313,000 to what bucket it's going to go to, and not really going to help a lot of people, but it's new money we found. Yeah, it's just, it's interesting being able to see clearly and see through what you guys do. And, you know, how you get visceral if somebody reads the Declaration of Independence, right? Because God forbid somebody abolish you guys, right? Because that would mean that you guys wouldn't be able to make your money off of people suffering. And then say, we're going to stop people from suffering because it's these corporations that are doing it, these billionaires. Oh, well, you guys sit up there and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, Monica, why don't you say, go ahead and speak. Say it into the mic, no? Right? I mean, I face you head on. You always got to face the serpents. You know what I mean? But you guys sit there and you look down and you can't even look anybody in the eye, but you'll talk shit all day long. Yeah, right. Better watch out. Better be careful.
Next speaker, please.
Cesar and Purita. Divine intervention, O Lord. We want to live longer, but what we are hearing is something that wanes or weakens our moral resolve to. But God is helping us. We are being guided, and so we suggest to everyone to pray every moment and thank Him because we are all still alive. But there is an accountability on that. We have to reciprocate that gift by working hard together and come up a solution that is adequate, not necessarily efficient. We are not perfect, but effective. Our suggestions a while ago on our solving problem are practical, Ma'am Rimmer, like our problem in our community. We presume that this accountability or liability is that the employers are presumed to be classified. They know what they're doing. The right people on the right task, job. And we support this to ensure that they have those benefits, working so hard. Not just smiling like Mayor Gloria, the owner of Air Pollution Control District. My God, my God. Everything is now in their control. Clean air, clean water, clean food, clean and safe community. But what are they doing as an employer elected by the people? That's a lesson. We come here not to change our ideology. We protect our Constitution. When we took oath again and again, and now we could say we celebrate because it's ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
All about, I think that retirement rates should be the same across the board for every employee. Every employee has the basic same needs in retirement, safety or not. Every employee has the potential to contribute positively to county operations. And every employee, therefore, deserves the same retirement rate. You cannot keep creating these groups of these people who have more and have less, mini groups. Again, you cannot keep creating these have more and have less mini groups. I mean, you know, it's almost like the blacks and the whites. I mean, they're all valuable employees. I mean, you know, they should be doing the same thing. I mean, it's kind of one big talented group. The two-tier system and then a slight decrease in the retirement rate rather than keeping up with the cost of living is pretty bad. Makes a mockery of equity. A total mockery, but probably you don't care about that. You're probably living too high on the hog for little things like that to matter. Next.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Next, it's Extremist Eagle Group gets to make big bucks by simply being the middleman for the county corporation who seemingly gets to play with the sitting retirement dollars, investing our tax dollars for personally dictated wealth. It's almost like a modern-day slave system where the county masters pretend they're taking care of their workers. But I have a question about the larger than expected projected total payroll and changes in actuarial assumptions and changes in demographic assumptions that effectively reduce cost. Can we get a translation on that? Why would payroll be going up that much when the county has a severe self-induced deficit from complete mismanagement for 6 years running? Does that stem from the taxpayer-funded rated reserves into the pockets of the grifting unions who function as a purple shirt mafia? Do the demographic assumptions mean the county pays certain demographics more or less than others, as per Manuela's depraved, valueless agenda? Or does that mean that a bunch of older people suddenly retired in order to escape and cash out on county corruption? This is an item that could really use more justification for where these contributions end up. And when are we going to talk about reducing the county budget by reducing the amount of retirement, by reducing the number of employees that taxpaying residents are paying for? We can definitely eliminate the County Office of Education payroll, which has only produced children that can't even read or write. Maybe that's what happened to double-speak Manuela, who pretends to speak for the indigenous community, racist. What I want to see as part of the retirement package is that not just financially, but emotionally, county employees are taken care of. Because I think it's akin to slave labor that Manuela forces county staffers, slaves to keep writing hot garbage amendments. At least Monica could speak for herself. What happened to the retirements for those that the county fired for not getting the clot shot? And I have homework for especially Monica. John Adams and Charles Sumner were against slavery, and Charles was a Republican. Look it up. You're a member of the pro-slavery party. Congratulations.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Okay, the theme of slavery just carries on to every item today, eh? All right, considering how the county mandated its employees to take that experimental poke in 2021, brought to you all by the orange man at warp speed, you better make damn sure there's enough to fund their medical bills, because many are already showing signs of side effects and having issues due to that shot. But back to the issue at hand, I really do hope these former county workers get their fair share. I feel for them. And, slaves used to work all day, every day with no pay, but they got free food, water, and shelter. Today, we work all day, nearly every day. We get paid, but the money we make, we spend on food, water, and shelter. We're still slaves. The only thing that has changed is the illusion of freedom. But you can't argue with slaves who don't even acknowledge their shackles, right? Old slaves were in chains, new slaves don't know what freedom is. And I'll end with the words of my sister, Harriet Tubman. I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed more. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. And spoiler alert, there is no government, just a secret society pretending to be one. They don't lead, they manage the illusion. Wake up. We're all slaves. Regardless of the color of your skin, we're all slaves. That's all she wrote.
Okay,
thank you. Want me to bow? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Hi, this is Andrea Ebbing, and I wanted to speak on this note about the pension on Transparent California, which is a website where everybody can go to see what people in the county and city are really making. So there's government guidelines. Everybody's getting paid well above government guidelines. But just as an example, a lot of people think that the people in city council in San Diego make like $230,000 a year, but they actually make $608. So Vivian Moreno, she's like 603. I want to say Joe LaCava's like 608. It is so far out. It's way out of control. There is a big red alert on the top of transparentcalifornia.com, and it says, per an email from San Diego County, and by the way, everybody, this is anomalous. This is not common. No other county has this. It's because there's so much malfeasance in San Diego right now, and it is such a hotbed for corruption. There's a big red box at the top of just San Diego. It says, per an email from San Diego County on 6/27/24, their unaccrued actuarial liability or pension debt is associated within their data in the entry for defined benefit pension contributions. I have no idea what that means, but I'm sure a lot of you do. So there's that. And then also, speaking of slave labor, it's interesting that the people who are being paid so much money already get more money when we're using homeless people, literally people who have no money at all, and using them to sort through compost bins by hand for no money at all. They're calling it job training. August 20th, 2025, an article by Mackenzie Elmer on Voice of San Diego, why San Diego is sorting trash from compost bins by hand. There were multiple men, homeless men from a particular shelter that I did contact, and they confirmed to me they were not paid. They did this for job skills and training, like they were...
Thank you. We'll hear from the final caller.
Hey, why did you guys go ahead and kick me out and I had to re-register? Seriously, are you getting worried? And then, Monica, will you go ahead and please mention Julian Brown? That could probably explain why these NGOs are having them sort out the plastic so that you could recycle it, and the corporations could make billions of dollars off of Julian Brown's, and 17-year-old kid, African-American, ended up creating a device that you're going to adopt, at the end of this year? Or next year through corporation, basically allowing the system to basically erase him out of the history books. Isn't that what's going on? I mean, I'm no longer playing reactionary. I'm playing offensive now. I'm going to call out your plays. If you want to go ahead and pretend that you're all high and mighty, just go to my Twitter account or X account and then ask the research that I did on on you guys. And I'll go ahead and add more details, and I'll go ahead and add every single thing you're doing. And it explains why I got fired. You know, your board members explained it perfectly. If you don't align with my point of view, you don't exist. And if you don't exist, you don't get the same rights that everyone else does. That's why you've abused my rights this entire time. You fired me, kept me on the books for 7 years, ended up giving me a restraining order, and then you applied that restraining order. What, when I said I was going to run against Monica? So you go ahead, not once. The first time you went ahead and did it when I said I was going to run for the 4th Board of Supervisors. Then you sent cops to my house saying, don't, or else we're going to arrest you. And then when I go ahead and tell you guys on October 20, or whatever, I think it was October 27th, then you go ahead and say, well, that's a violation of the restraining order, and we need to go after you. What threat have I ever given you? The fear of civil war if you continue this division tactics that you're doing?
Thank you. And Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion by the Vice Chair and a second by the Chair Pro Tem. Please vote.
Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present voting aye.
Okay, thank you all very much. At all our meetings, anyone who has an update on board committees has an opportunity to share those. Does anyone have an update?
No update on the Bakeshore Bikeway Committee.
Vice Chair Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you very much. Okay, so this is not necessarily a formal committee, but I thought it would be appropriate and important to let my colleagues know at this time that my office convened a stakeholder meeting to discuss the Safety Net Bridge program last Monday, February 2nd. This is the second stakeholder meeting that we have held. The first was convened in November, shortly after the item was approved, and focused on community clinics and medical centers. This most recent meeting expanded the table to include food access partners. So as you know, the Safety Net Bridge program is an item that I brought before the board in November, directing the county to explore options to prevent residents from falling through the cracks intentionally created by H.R. 1. Since then, the county medical care services has engaged health systems, community clinics, and food partners to put together a strategy focused on continuity for people at risk of losing Medi-Cal and CalFresh coverage. I would like to thank Dr. Jennifer Tudor and Jamie Bean from County Medical Care Services for their hard work in putting together a thorough report back on preliminary feasibility of the program. Despite encountering significant roadblocks, they adapted quickly towards solutions that could be implemented in the near term. Those options will be presented in a report back at a future board meeting. But until then, I will continue to engage with the community on the best strategies to prevent avoidable disruptions in essential services. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, we return to non-agenda public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 9 remaining requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 2 individuals in person, and 7 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. I'd like to invite forward Cesar Javier and Mark. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. Again, please state your name for the audio record.
Cesar and Furita. Repetition, a revered principle in education. We are here to pray with you so we would be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The city of San Diego has referred us to Air Pollution Control District to solve this issue of toxicity next door. APCD was taken by Mayor Gloria in 2019. He owns the APCD. Ma'am Aguirre, you should know that. Ma'am Rimmer, you should know that. And the rest of the political elected officials. My God, it looks like they do not know what they're doing. The UCSD people here, the specialists, you didn't mention that they have done the investigation of the Tijuana River pollution issue. That's something to celebrate. That's something to honor their contribution ahead of the specialist governing board member and APCD staff. What's going on, Ma'am Aguirre? You were the frontliner, Imperial Beach mayor, and District 8, Vivian Moreno, and the mayor. My God. Let's reverse the azimuth for the sake of justice. We were perceived as violent humans, San Diegoans. Mr. Javier, you crossed the line, said Councilor Lacaba. Looks like a colonizer. And what can we do? Our face there at the City Hall, wanted. You cannot enter the premises. Help us. Help us.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you.
Mark, see these YouTube video titles.
Mark, while companies still need our labor, now is our last chance for public opinion or voting to matter at all. Once the government's gross domestic product is almost entirely produced by AI, people will be useless and there will be no incentive to support you. In fact, you will be a liability to their slave system. It is being used to manipulate and control us and will be almost impossible to escape if we the people allow this. It takes an incredible amount of power to run. AI will be given water and resources instead of we the people. Our needs are insignificant to the elite who are in the final stages of a global slave government where your every move is now being monitored. State governments have already been forbidden by Trump to restrict AI. The camera systems have already been installed, and they have prepared a digital currency the government will control in much the same way Trudeau controlled the protesting truckers' bank accounts. Trump's friend Larry Ellison's corporation, Oracle, just needs all of a country's data, your data, with everything you do on one digital ID, to monitor and control us worse than George Orwell's book 1984. And these supervisors are not going to do a thing to stop it. They will just give themselves a raise. It's up to you to talk with everyone and peacefully stop this. At 25 minutes in this YouTube video, Larry Ellison, the owner of Oracle, speaks to the world leaders at the World Government Summit. Mark.
Tell us a bit about what, because you're right at the forefront of this revolution, what it means for what government should do in terms of its digital infrastructure, digital ID, data centers, and so on. Tell us, Oracle's building a 2.2 gigawatt data center that costs between 50 and soon $100 billion to build these data centers and train these models. Because these models are so expensive, you won't build your own, as a rule. There'll be a handful of these models. The question is, how do you take advantage of these incredible AI models? And the first thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model.
Stop AI now while there's time.
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll begin with our first caller.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Madison. I'm a mother of young children, and like many parents, when I buckle my kids into the car, I assume the road around us is reasonably safe. But the science on cannabis-impaired driving tells us that assumption is becoming harder to make. A major review published just this month in the journal Current Addiction Reports examined the most recent research on how cannabis affects driving. The findings were clear and consistent. Cannabis products containing THC impair driving performance. This isn't speculation or outdated data. It's based on controlled experimental studies conducted over the last 5 years. The review found that impairment occurs quickly, most strongly within the first hour after use, and can also last 4 to 5 hours after inhalation. During that time, drivers show reduced reaction time, impaired attention, and poorer lane control, skills that are critical to preventing crashes. Even more concerning, participants in these studies often felt ready and willing to drive shortly after using cannabis, even though they were objectively worse at driving. In other words, people don't reliably perceive when they are unsafe to drive. The risks increase further when cannabis is combined with alcohol. The review found additive effects, meaning the impairment is worse together than either substance alone. The combination significantly amplifies danger on the road. As access to high-potency cannabis products expands, our policies must keep pace with the science. Protecting public safety, especially children, pedestrians, and other drivers, requires a system to measure impairment levels from cannabis use, which unfortunately doesn't exist yet. This could be something to look into for our road safety. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Peggy Walker, public health worker, thank you. I'm here to share that yesterday in a significant turnabout, the New York Times, once a big proponent of marijuana legalization, wrote that it's time for America to admit it has a marijuana problem, and stated legalization has led, quote, to worse outcomes than expected. I urge your attention to the science and database testimony, which contradicts the wisdom of policy that you propose. The Times pointed to surveys showing 18 million Americans use marijuana almost daily, up from under 1 million in 1992. It pointed to millions hospitalized with cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, upticks in addiction, and DUIs. It acknowledged that people who are frequently stoned often, quote, struggle to hold a job or take care of families, and criticized reckless regulation. The New York Post also voiced condemnation yesterday, citing extensive studies reported in the Journal of American Medical Association. These showed no evidence of real marijuana medical benefits and absolutely zero evidence of mental health benefits, while confirming significant adverse mental health consequences, especially for those under 25. The media is finally catching up with science, and I urge this board to do the same. Clear 30, an app for people trying to quit pot, responded yesterday, noting their participants have become slaves to weed and are castigating the industry for false messaging that pot isn't addictive when it really is. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Hi, this is Andrea Ebbing, and I would like this on the record. I'm calling for accountability, investigation, and anybody to address this information that I'm about to share. So we have a district attorney named Summer Steffen. She is county employed, and she is currently operating the city initiative of the Family Justice Center. I believe the Family Justice Center is a money laundering shell company that does not help people. I am a victim of a horrific violent crime, and they not only turned me away, but threatened to have me arrested if I ever came back. This is a repeated thing that I've seen happen over and over and over again with other victims. The Union Tribune actually has plenty on public records. So if you go to San Diego Public Records and you look up when Mara Elliott was running this money laundering facility, it was a city initiative. At one point, it was opened by Casey Gwynn. SDPD took it over. Then Mara Elliott took it over. And now we have a county employee who is running it. Also, she is manipulating the ARGIS system. She removed felony charges for her friend, my ex, owner of Apex Recovery, which she awarded $5 million taxpayer dollars to for addiction and rehab services, despite his absolute direct involvement in massive opioid distribution pill mill operation on El Cajon Boulevard run by Augusto Salerno and their partner Prakash Bhatia, who is a psychiatrist that Summer Steffen used to commit Nancy Sussman a USC attorney that is a major case taking place now. The ARGIS system needs to be audited, and in order to enact SB 54, Summer Stephan and her federal judge husband, Dana Sabrow, can either not be living in the same home or one of them needs to get out of office, and I hope it's her. Thank you.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
So do you want to just admit what NGOs you work for? And then please explain to me why you guys won't acknowledge Julian Brown's technology. Because I would like him to make it into the history books to inspire many, many people years down the line. But if you just hand over that technology to corporate, then you're just as bad as everyone that you're, Monica, that everyone that you friggin' talk shit about. Hell, I would claim that you're worse. You're like, what is his name? You're just an opportunist, aren't you? You don't actually believe in the words that you say, or else you would have mentioned Julian Brown the first time I talked to you. That kid is friggin' amazing. And then we just take his technology and hand it over to corporations? We have assembly members over here go ahead and write a bill saying that we can't go ahead and talk about it, which you guys are going to sunset this year. Why? Because it's ready for production? You guys are already recycling plastic. I see the trucks going up to the location. So don't tell me that you guys aren't in on it. You definitely are. You're going along with it. You're allowing the NGOs to basically do this. You're using them as slave labor, and you really don't like anyone that has an opposing point of view. You don't even think they exist, and you want to go ahead and throw them in jail. There's so many cases of that happening all over the place. You just have to look at the restraining orders that you guys have, and then take a look at, are they justified? A high judge just for this. Why? Because that was one of our first cases. You guys talked to him immediately. And then what? You guys go ahead and hire their lawyer? Oh my.
Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes the requests for non-agenda public communication.
Okay, thank you very much. We now turn to public comment for closed session matters.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. Item 17 on today's general legislative session agenda are closed session matters. The closed session agenda includes 5 matters. Individuals that have requested to speak on closed session matters must provide comments related to those items on the closed session agenda item. Otherwise, your comments will be considered off topic. We have 8 requests to speak, 3 individuals in person, 5 requesting to speak by phone. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. For those who requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions provided to you. I'd like to invite forward Cesar, Javier, allegedly Audra, and Mark. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. While our in-person speakers are getting ready, I'm going to go ahead and...
Mark, the computer screen slipped at the last moment, but it's your case, Garcia, where he's suing about injury because of the road maintenance. And the roads are not maintained because, as Jim tried to do, he tried to prioritize our core functions, and you guys voted that down. That was a long time ago, I don't know, 6, 8 months ago. And so now our roads are not being maintained properly. And meanwhile, you paid for everything else under the sun that we don't need and shouldn't be, and much of it going against the Constitution and our federal government's law. So unfortunately, we don't have much money and our roads are not being maintained. And that is your fault, Tara and some other people here that made sure that Agenda 21 is being implemented. So the roads are not maintained. and I hope he wins the lawsuit. In fact, it's amazing to me because when I drive, I literally am trying to avoid potholes so much that it's like a real effort to look at the signs. There's way more potholes. You got to watch out for potholes. They're going to seriously damage your vehicle instead of like looking at the signs, which you have to do, of course. And you don't even have the sign for no turn on right. There's like 5 different types of signs. The glowy one would be great. If that was just there every time, right at the intersection in the same place, so people could see it and know, that'd be great. It could be 200 feet behind. It could be a little sign that's not bright at all, completely different, black and white. It could be anywhere in the intersection, many different types of signs. It's a total scam. And it makes about $800 or $1,000 now, treating people who make a right turn like they've, on a red, which is legal everywhere else and always has been for like 40 years, treating them like they ran through a red light 90 miles an hour trying to kill everyone. Same basic 2-pointer, your insurance goes way up, it's all bullshit.
Next speaker, please.
Whether it has to do with jail, deaths, sexual harassment, injuries, labor, none of you are equipped to be making any decisions about any litigation that is taking place, as I tell you time and again. Number one, you guys are just discriminating against the people in the county if they do not agree and go along with your ideologies. They can't participate. Calling that inclusion when it's exclusion. You guys are engaged in treason, insurrection, subversion, so many things, obfuscation, obstruction of justice, and you sit up here and act like you're going to be able to make a sound mind decision for the people of the county. You're engaged in child trafficking, the abuse of children, the abuse of animals, the abuse of the elderly, exploitation of the homeless and abuse of them, allowing deaths to take place while you guys engage with NGOs that are literally killing people and not helping them. You take our money, and it is blood money, Joel. Every cent you guys take is from the hard-working people that you claim to represent. You don't give a shit about them unless they agree with everything you say. Because if you don't, then you're not welcome, and you will discriminate, and you are enslaving the people, like sitting here going like, we don't want slavery. That's what you encourage. That's what you do. You take the money of the people that work so hard and you throw it away. People are suffering because of you. You guys are the ones that should be behind bars. They should be going after you for incentivizing all the people to come that are now causing the people in our communities to suffer because funds are being drawn back because of the choices that you made. So fuck you guys.
Now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Paul Bold, Martinez versus Pride Group, a labor law case from 2002 that was already settled. Not sure why the county's involved. Probably want to give their money to lawyers or something. Garcia versus County. Garcia was riding his bike when he crashed due to poor road maintenance. You need to settle this. Too common an issue. Dunsmore versus Sheriff, County Sheriff. Case alleging jail misconduct over the jail deaths. Sheriff tried to get a summary judgment ending most of the case. Dirty guy. Hate to tell you, but sheriff misconduct was reprehensible and caused a lot of suffering. You need to fess up and settle. Powell versus County and Sheriff. Deputy Powell was chasing a stolen car with other deputies when they shot the suspect from 50 feet with no warning while the situation was de-escalating and hit Deputy Powell. You need to settle. Whitney Antrim versus County. Mrs. Antrim, a public defender, was harassed for several years for testifying about a colleague's sexual harassment. And 8 months later, her husband was also harassed so badly he resigned. 2-year-old cases, they should be settled. And I hope you'll settle the 150-odd cases related to Polinsky Center abuses. How much will continually putting off discussion cost you guys in money interest, or our money interest, and reputation, if not having the book totally thrown at you? I really hope the screams of...
Hear from the next caller.
Hey, it's Truth saying my name. Case A, Robert Martinez versus Tri-Group Construction and Development, Inc. I noticed Tri-Group hasn't updated the project on their website since 2022. Case C, Daryl Dunsmore versus the county. This class action lawsuit alleged that the county jail denied proper health accommodations to detainees. Also being sued is the state, the sheriffs, the Department of Corrections, and Bonehead Bonta with additional claims against the City of San Diego, Correctional Healthcare Partners, Tri-City Medical Center, Liberty Healthcare, Mid-America Health, an individual doctor, the Probation Department, and 20 does. Complaints include deaths due to allegedly preventable suicide, overdoses, homicides, medical neglect, chronic understaffing of medical professionals, unsanitary living conditions, and failure to track and accommodate disabilities. Allegedly, there was an ADA settlement agreement, which includes providing more accessible housing, canes, walkers, and wheelchairs. And that breeds even more suspicion that changes to the Vista Detention Center are not due to a sudden positive change in priorities, but a forced change, just like what happened after Elisa Cerner's death. Case D, Rowdy Powell versus the county, William Gore, David Lovejoy, Jonathan Young, and Does 1 to 25. In 2022, Detective Powell of the National City Police Department was in El Cajon in an unmarked police cruiser, searching for stolen vehicles as part of the anti-theft task force. After Rowdy and other officers surrounded the suspect, some deputies fired their weapons, somehow striking Detective Powell in the leg. The bullet has not been removed as it may exacerbate his injury. No telling what happened to deputies David Lovejoy and Jonathan Young, but perhaps they need retraining if they either failed to hit targets or they're just reckless in response. Now, does this make all law enforcement suddenly bad? No. But these cases reveal that regular people are failing to sue the county as they should for deprivation of rights, as well as other fun charges like treason and insurrection. Despite this treasonous board, happy 250th birthday to America, not a Civil War pro-slavery progressive, a birthday. Let's finally end the illegal slave trade labor this year. No better way than by supporting ICE. And for those that couldn't figure it out, today's secret word was slavery. Bye.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
I knew it. Okay. So I just wanted to point out that everything Consuelo here. Everything requiring a closed session is the result of a failed system. Litigation after litigation is not normal. It is not coincidence. It is the direct outcome of an incompetent government structure, one that is purposely designed to fail in order to push and implement a global agenda. And like always, it's the people who are footing the bill for these lawsuits. We pay for the mistakes, we pay for the corruption, we pay for the fraud. Ask yourselves, how abusive is this relationship? The public funds a system that repeatedly harms them, then forces them to pay again to clean up the damage. That is not representation, that is exploitation. I want to encourage my neighbors across this county to get involved, not only when something directly affects your pocketbook. This affects all of us, whether we're paying attention or not. Society should be far more advanced by now, but instead, due to the dumbing down of our species through programming, indoctrination, and distraction, we are actually going backwards. We are not evolving, we are devolving. And it doesn't have to be this way. It can be so much better, and it will be better once this entire system is exposed. All of it, not just pieces, not just what's convenient, but all of it. Transparency isn't a threat, accountability isn't radical, and the people deserve far more than closed doors and endless excuses. Done.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
This
is Andrea Ebbing. It's really unfortunate that we have all these cases going on, but I can assure you that the sheriff's one is absolutely one you're going to need to settle, because I'm available to speak to anybody, any attorneys, any victims who've had an experience with the criminal justice system and had some odd situation happen, like, let's say, sheriff's deprivation of health care and rights, because I, despite having zero history of crime, violence, or substance abuse, and being a victim of a felony strangulation and child abduction, never having a speeding ticket, and having contributed to the growth of San Diego for 25 years, driving tens of millions of dollars in revenue directly to the city and county. But besides that, my rehab owner X gets $5 million, tries to kill me, and then we have a district attorney who decides to jail me under a fake name that the sheriff wouldn't fix. Andrea Abida is not my name. You cannot take away my social media rights, which she has. I've been off social media for 4 years because they scared me so badly. They put me in jail for 6 days under a fake name, and they deprived me of my Paxil that I requested 3 times per day for 6 days straight, as I shook and told them my heart was going to stop. But they didn't do a damn thing about it, did they? And no, Judge Walsh said I was mentally ill. Instead, he sent me back to jail under a fake name. These people are going to pay. I can assure you of that. You're going to have a big, gigantic lawsuit on your hands. Promise you. Okay? And when they failed to react to my felony strangulation and head splitting, and I got an aneurysm and it ruptured, and I almost died in March of last year, well, Pig Summer Stephan and her filthy, disgusting minions from the public defender's office, don't forget, she placed Paul Rodriguez. Very unusual move that a pig DA would be able to place a coward beta cock public defender named Paul Rodriguez who works for her. And
we'll now hear from the final caller.
Well, it's no reason. I mean, it makes perfect sense. If you go ahead and demonize the cops, and then you encourage people to go ahead and treat one group over another, and then you hire these people, yeah, you're going to have a shitload of lawsuits, aren't you? I mean, how long do you think you could keep on going like this? I mean, you do read the chatter that's happening, or are you completely oblivious to the people and you only listen to the NGOs, which feed you bullshit? Like, seriously, bullshit. Both Jewish Family Services and Catholic churches basically said, no more, we're not going to go ahead and house and give benefits to illegal immigrants. And now you guys are pissed off and you're looking for a bridge? And then you're going to go ahead and divert the money and all that stuff? You don't work for us. And if we had fair and honest elections, you would not be in the position of power and be able to treat the people the way that you're treating. Hell, no elected official would ever do that. But you are clearly not elected. Clearly. You're selected. You admit it today that the only people we're going to listen to are the stockholders that are NGOs or these unions. You don't give a shit about the people. Oh, we're going to go ahead and make a group, but we're only going to listen to the leader. We don't care about all the people underneath working for that group. Optics. Do you understand what optics are? You guys love friggin' optics. Going and paint the thing about systemic racism, but ignoring the fact that you're stealing technology from Julian Brown. You're helping the system do that. You're encouraging the system to do that. What, because of your portfolio? Seriously speaking, your portfolio. And then you want to go ahead and have San Diego be different from the rest of the United States and basically say, yeah, all the white people are racist, and we...
Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on the closed session matters.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to my colleagues. With that, the board will proceed to closed session and be in recess until tomorrow, Wednesday, February 11th at 9 a.m. for the land use legislative session. We'll take about 10 minutes for folks to get organized, and we'll be there at 4 o'clock. Thanks.
Board will now session agenda. If there are any reportable actions, they will be reported out during the land use session of this meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, February 11th at 9 a.m.